Moshe, coming to you from Israel in the Galilee on the 13th of August. It's a Tuesday. It's 8:54 in the morning. It'll be hot, mid-90s today. So we're still on the rabbinical holiday with the wrong dates, I'm sure, but it's to them the 9th of Av, the day both temples were destroyed, and to date, nothing from Iran. Yesterday, we were getting notified by America and all kinds of foreign media that the attack was going to happen like in 24 hours, and now late last night, I think they changed it, and they're saying the next few days, and they're targeting the date of August 15 on or before then. Now, I hope that their intel was not just based on Hamas saying they're not going to this ceasefire meeting, which would have been in, I guess, Qatar or Egypt or something, that they're not going to this ceasefire meeting at all, and that Israel can go back to I think they're saying the July 2nd proposal, which is Israel completely gets out of Gaza, no restrictions, they can stay there, maintain the government, smuggle weapons from Egypt. The hostages would be released after Israel withdraws from Gaza completely, and they want a prisoner exchange for the hostages, which means give them 5,000 prisoners for whoever of the hostages is still left alive, if any are still left alive. Okay? I don't think Biden thinks that's serious, and I don't believe Netanyahu would do it. If Netanyahu did anything like a complete withdrawal from Gaza for any reason, there would be a vote of no confidence against Netanyahu within 24, 48 hours, and he'd be out. They have an emergency way of putting having an election rather quickly, I think, within a day or something, for a new prime minister. And it's unclear who would emerge. I gotta shut the light, it's too bright. It's unclear who would emerge as the new prime minister because we're not there. But I don't know. I really don't know who it would be. And we're not headed in that path. Netanyahu is not going for this. If Netanyahu went for it, Biden would be all in, but he's not going for it. Biden seems to want the hostages released before Hamas gets what they want. He wants to get on TV. Hey, look at all these hostages that are also American citizens that I saved, All right. Now, we're going to discuss why Biden doesn't care what Israel does to the Hezbollah in Lebanon, and to a reasonable extent what Israel does about the Hezbollah and other terrorists in Syria and even Iraq, and why he doesn't care what Israel does to the Houthis, but is very concerned about what they do to Hamas. Okay? Now, we're going to go into an analysis of this, which is going to be a combination of tactical and Bible prophecy. Okay? And you can judge if you think the Lord showed me these things or not, because I believe he did. All right? And I think when you hear what Biden is really up to, if you're a Bible believer, it'll all fall into place and you'll see what's going on with much greater clarity. Not that I can predict whether or not Iran's going to attack and on what day they're going to attack. I can't. But that's what. And then we're also going to get into some tactical reasons why Iran is stalling the attack, which is dangerous for them because America is moving more and more military assets over here. In addition, several countries, at least 6 countries like Germany, France, UK, big countries, NATO members, contacted Iran and said, don't do this strike. There's going to be consequences. It was, yeah, sanctions and stuff like that, but it also was a veiled threat of boom, military. It was. I read it. You can read it. It's all over the media. And this is probably not what's stopping Iran. Okay? The Ukrainians have several hundred, no, I think they're up to 1,000 square kilometers now of land that they've occupied in Russia. 1,000 kilometers. Russian soldiers are surrendering. The Chechen soldiers got captured. I imagine captured means they didn't fight to the last man. They surrendered. I mean, what else could it mean? And these guys are brutal murderers. Okay? They are like the right-hand men of, Attila the Hun or something. These guys are brutal. Okay? And they surrendered. Now, just so you could get a quick glimpse of how the world leaders operate, Putin invades Ukraine, attacks Ukraine, invades it, takes over land. Ukraine does the same thing to Putin, right? And Putin says, oh, rest assured, I'm going to get revenge on Ukraine. Vladimir, you started it, you moron. Why are you calling it revenge? They're just doing to you what you did to them. Because they wanted to stop. And he said they want their land back. And then Putin said, no, we're not talking about peace anymore. So we also can glean from this one thing that's important to Israel is that Putin is in no way, shape, or form, in my opinion, able to go and start helping Iran with warships and planes and troops and stuff like that. Not now. Not now. He can't do that. He does have 1 or 2 submarines near Latakia, Syria, which is on the Mediterranean, and that's where he has his Navy base, and he's probably there as a threat to Israel because he gave weapons to Iran, and he's kind of making out, well, if you attack my base in Latakia, Syria, that's his only Navy base on the Mediterranean. It's quite important to Putin. Then he probably figures that the threat would be he would sink some of Israel's naval vessels with a submarine, or perhaps these submarines have missile launch capability and he would sling missiles into Israel. The U.S. has been flying sub-Hunter aircraft around the area, I believe, nonstop. So I expect they know where his subs are. Maybe not. I mean, if they are really stealthy and hiding, they may not know where they are. I mean, if they're, 500-600 feet under the water, you can't see, you might be able to see in clear water like the Caribbean on a sunny day, in bright daylight, you might be able to see a sub 40 or 60 feet under the surface from a helicopter or an aircraft. You'd see the profile of it, but that's about where it stops. And the Mediterranean is nowhere near as clear as the Caribbean, so I would say maybe 30, 40, 50 feet, maybe on ideal conditions. Got to remember, when there's wind and waves, that reduces the depth you can see. So they detect it electronically. They listen. They drop buoys in the water that listen. And if Putin's running nuclear submarines, they likely know where the subs are all the time because those subs are noisy. If they're running diesel, which is often called an electric boat, they would have a much harder time, and I'll explain. Um, a nuclear submarine can go, I don't know, 20 years or something like that without refueling. It also has an almost unlimited amount of power, not unlimited, it has a tremendous amount of power resources, so they could desalinate water liberally. The sailors can take a shower probably every day for 5 minutes. They have abundant drinking water. They got, all the air conditioning. They're running everything, right? But diesel submarines is not such, the case isn't that way. They have batteries, thus they're called electric boats, that charge. I guess the batteries probably fill somebody's bedroom or something. They're probably pretty large. And I understand they could get out to perhaps 3 days, depending on how much electricity they're using, without surfacing. But they have tricks. They have what's called a snorkel. So they could get perhaps 30 or 40 feet or something like that, maybe 50, under the water, stick the snorkel out, and one snorkel will just pull fresh air in. Okay, so they can fill the boat with fresh air, and they probably can pipe this air with compression into tanks. But the other thing that they have this capability at about the same depth is to have another snorkel that exhausts the diesel fume gases from the motor out into the air over the surface of the water. And that enables them to stay submerged and charge the batteries again. Now, I don't know how many hours they need to charge their batteries. As a guess, it's probably not that quick. I would say best case 5 or 6 hours, worst case 24. Probably it's around 12 or something like that. Now, they don't have to have a full charge. They could come up and get a fraction of a charge, like a third or something, and that gives them enough to go another day or something like that. But they're going to be much easier to detect if they're snorkeling, okay? Israel just uses diesel submarines. For one, they're much cheaper. For number two, they're much smaller, and the less the size of the sub is, the harder it is to find. And the other thing is they're extremely quiet. They're just running an electric motor with batteries. Okay, so that's what Israel uses. Can Russia detect our subs? I don't know. I do know that diesel subs with the electric motors are the hardest to find. They're small and they're quiet. Okay? Alright. So I don't believe you're going to see a Russian fleet show up here, and I don't believe you're going to see a lot of Russian aircraft flying, running missions for Iran or trying to knock down jets attacking Iran. I don't think you're going to see any of that. Putin doesn't need a two-front war. And if he starts attacking a NATO country that's attacking Iran, Israel is not a real NATO country. America is, UK is. If he starts attacking their planes, he could open the door for NATO to come kicking his door down. So, if you want to call this a coincidence, go ahead. I don't see it as a coincidence. And Putin has got his hands full right now. And I think he's going to be jammed up not for a day or two, for weeks with this. Okay? So we'll discuss all these things. We'll go into Bible prophecy, and we'll come up with an analysis, and I think you'll understand and appreciate the motives of Biden and what they're really up to here. And I think when I explain it to you, it'll fall into place, and you'll get the oohs and the ahs. You'll like it. All right, being a Bible-believing site, I'm going to do some praise now. There is no God like Jehovah. 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 There is no Messiah like Yeshua. 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 Okay, now I'm going to spend a couple of brief moments, and I mean brief, and I don't know what this is. And I'm going to go into the live stream and put a couple of fast posts up, and it'll be rather fast. Some of you get frustrated and leave, so be it. What can I do? But I got to check sound and picture, and I got to put my posts up. So that's the reality. Okay, we seem to have sound and picture. All right, I'm gonna stop talking, or I'm gonna start making typos, but this will be very fast. Almost done, guys. I'm just putting my email address up. If anybody wants to send in a prayer request or a toss request by email, you certainly can, or you can post it in the chat. I do check the chat periodically during the broadcast. Okay, I'm done. I'm just pinning it up now. Okay. Now I'm going to go into my notes. And I've got one, not a prayer request, a toss request. Toss request for BB, Baker, Baker, BB, Baker, Baker, toss request. Okay, that's the only prayer toss request we have so far. All right. Couple of interesting facts we'll start with that are relevant. Trump, I believe on his Elon Musk broadcast, live stream, whatever, said that he believes that the amount of illegals in the United States now are not like 12 million or something like that. He used the figure 20 million. Now, Trump, you got to understand, has got better intel than we do, okay? As a former president, he's got access to a lot, okay? He knows many senators, congressmen, he's gets intel. This is not some YouTuber saying that he has connections in the CIA and military intelligence and nonsense like that, because if he did, these connections would not give him intel for him to broadcast all around the world, because then he would get investigated. He would roll over on the person that gave it to him, and the person that gave it to him could wind up going to jail for a very long time. Or if he's retired, he could lost his pension, or he could be in a lot of hot water. So I believe that there is leakage of intel you know, many years ago, the big corporations started hiring retired CIA guys. Why? Because for about 2 to 5 years, the retired CIA guy has lifelong friends in the CIA. And while they're not going to give them intel like troop movements and stuff like that, but the company that hires the retiree doesn't need that kind of intel. They give them other kinds of intel, you know, that's not highly specific, no reference to the source, just give them information about what's going on in the world, the economy, and things like that, and it helps them make decisions, okay? And they, I'm sure, still do that to this day, okay? Now, there are probably various leakages with people in the intel community in America that, you know, if they have a friend living in a country and they think the country's about to go kaput, they might tell them, you know, hey, you know, you read the news, maybe this is a good time to leave there. You know, leave there, like get the heck out of there, you know, and that kind of thing. And that's probably not going to come back and bite them in the butt. Specific intel will. Okay? So, getting a figure as to how many illegals are in the country is not specific intel, and I believe Trump would get that. Now, they're telling us, as evidenced by various videos and pictures, that 70% of these illegals are military-age males. Everybody's saying that. So if you take 70% of 20 million, you got 14 million. Okay, let's cut that in half. Okay? Just for the heck of it. Now you're down to 7 million. All right, let's cut it in half again. Just so I can make my point. I don't think you should be cutting it in half, but let's do it. You're down to 3.5 million, which is about double the size of the U.S. military. And much of the military of the United States is deployed overseas. So there are probably 4 or 5 times more sleeper agents in America than military. Think about that. They're not talking about the sleeper agents anymore. Why? They don't want you scared. It came out, I covered the story, many people did, that China over 10 years has acquired up to 350,000 acres of land. It's hard to track it down because they use shell corporations. Next, the land is next to American military bases. They grow stuff on it to make it look like it's agriculture. I think they export the stuff they grow to China, I'm not sure. And they're telling us a lot of these aliens that, you know, foreigners that cross into America illegally don't go to ICE and register as asylum seekers, thereby becoming legal. They just go to this land that China has and they stay there. They don't go off the land. Who's going to come around and deport them on the land? It's highly unlikely. If Hamas can build shoulder-fired missiles, mortars, stuff like that in tunnels in Gaza, how hard do you think it would be to put up a building that looks like a barn on agricultural land and make missiles in there? I'm talking, you know, a 15, 20,000 square foot barn. Or what about in the barn where you keep, you know, horses and whatever, you have a staircase that goes, a hidden staircase you take downstairs, and you got a big factory underground there. I mean, it's child's play to get the ingredients, to get the machinery, to get everything in America is easy. And they're right next to American bases. So how hard is it for them to attack the American bases? America has already been invaded. Have you seen videos and news stories of the federal agents of America picking them up and deporting them? I haven't seen one. The Biden administration has been moving them around to different parts of America. I understand they moved them to Hawaii. They got them all over the place. I don't know about Alaska. I'm sure they have them in Alaska, though, because there's military bases up there. These people are from Muslim terrorist organizations. Trump said a lot of them are released from prisons, mental hospitals, stuff like that. These are bad people that are there for no good reason for America. Chinese, North Korean, Russian, Hezbollah, Hamas, Houthis, various, Al-Fatah or other groups, they're there. They're there. They're waiting for the light to go green. They've been there for 10 years, a lot of them. Obama, when he was president way back when, came out and said there's 100,000 Chinese in America on various kinds of visas that he was very, very suspicious of. That's a long time ago. I'm going to be back in a second. Quick break. You can put questions up in the chat if you like. All right. So what I got to tell you now is that Israel has been doing preemptive strikes in Lebanon probably for 8 weeks. Okay. Now, some of you are going to say, well, what do you mean they invaded? No. They didn't invade. What they're doing is preemptive strikes. And I need to explain that to you. They're hitting weapons storehouses, command centers, and strategic locations that Hezbollah has in Lebanon. They're hitting them so hard that Hezbollah has moved their command and control, their serious facilities, up to Beirut, away from the border with Israel. Hezbollah is taking a shellacking. They're still able to do launches, but they're not able to do a lot of damage. every day for weeks, Israel's hitting locations of theirs. Eventually, there's going to be no more locations to hit. Okay? Why? And all the time now, for probably 2 weeks, Israel is flying jets low where you could see them plainly over places like Beirut, Lebanon, and other areas, and the jets are breaking the sound barrier and giving them sonic booms, which rattles the windows and makes a boom noise in the sky, rattles the windows and the doors and the bookcases and stuff like that. Scares them. So is Hezbollah such a mean, tough, country or terrorist group? No. Look what they put up with. We're doing a targeted assassinations, I think, multiple times a day if we can, hitting characters relatively high up in Hezbollah that are riding around on motorcycles. So we're hitting facilities, weapon depots, target assassinations, everything. When Nasrallah was giving his last speech, we were flying jets over Beirut and Lebanon, breaking the sound barrier during his broadcast. He's insane. You have to understand that. These people are insane. They're dedicated to murder and lying. Who's the father of lies? Satan. Who was a murderer from the beginning? Satan. It's in your Bible. It's coming out, but it's not widespread that Hezbollah runs drug dealing operations around the world. I don't know how true it is. But I believe Hezbollah gets their paychecks from Iran, basically. So why hasn't the king of the jungle, Hezbollah, attacked Israel yet? Something's missing. They don't have something. Israel has been interdicting, in other words, blowing up weapon shipments coming towards Lebanon, in Syria near Lebanon, and actually in Lebanon near Syria. These are probably more advanced missiles that they need. That Iran, of course it's from Iran, is shipping it over to them. And it could be getting it Russia to Iran, and then Iran to Lebanon. They go from Iran to Iraq to Syria to Lebanon. So it occurs to me that the Hezbollah are not ready for this big bad strike. They don't have enough weapons. Remember, for approximately 2 months, we've been destroying weapons of theirs practically daily, if not daily. And we're stopping the importation of the weapons, and they're using weapons up, attacking us. Is Iran waiting to find a way to get weapons into Lebanon before they do their attack? I would say from a tactical point of view, it's most likely, highly probable. That's the kingpin player against Israel. They've been attacking us since October. How many weapons do they have? We've been interdicting weapons off and on, but we've made a concentrated effort to keep attacking them daily. And that's a preemptive attack. We're prepping to go in. When we go in, it's the end of them. Why is Biden letting us do whatever we want in Lebanon, and he's not bellyaching about it? He's not sending Blinken to Hezbollah to negotiate a peace deal. He's not telling Israel to use restraint. Why? Here we go. Hezbollah is not a nation. For all practical purposes, Hamas is a nation. They are the government. They run the courts, the government. They run the water, the hospitals. They run everything. And they're military, and they have their own police. So if Israel destroys Hezbollah, right? Can Israel go into Lebanon and say, this is now part of Greater Israel? No. I mean, they will. In the Bible, we will. But in the mind of Biden, no. Because Lebanon has a proper government, a so-called democracy. So when Hezbollah is disabled, neutralized, no longer a threat, the Lebanese government will, of course, take measures to protect the border, which will probably prove worthless, but put their army down there or something like that. And they'll push whatever is left of Hezbollah around. See, Hezbollah could turn those missiles around and start blowing up the Lebanese government buildings easily. And they wouldn't care. Army, Lebanese army military base, the parliament, the government offices, the courts, anything and everything. They could go around doing targeted assassinations against the families of the leaders of Lebanon proper government. What that would look like is kicking in their doors, taking them hostage, raping them, murdering them, throwing them out the window, whatever, right? And they're afraid of them. So the thought in Biden's mind would be, if Israel destroys Hezbollah, the Lebanese government, maybe with some help from Israel, American advisors and equipment and stuff, can secure the border area near Israel, keep terrorists out, because not every terrorist is going to get killed. And Hezbollah would be so weak, the government won't fear them anymore, and that could prevent them from ever emerging. See, Hezbollah is destabilizing the region by working with and for Iran, who wants to control all the oil in the Middle East and break the back of America and Europe by reducing oil production, raising prices, and so forth. Okay? So, Hezbollah serves a purpose to Biden, and that purpose is to make Israel more and more fearful of war, so as to push us towards a two-state solution, which would involve giving back the West Bank, which includes East Jerusalem, which is where the Dome of the Rock is and all that, and
Wailing Wall area, and that's where the site of the temple is not by the Dome of the Rock. It's 6, 8, 900, 1,000 feet away, but that has the site of where the temple will go. So if Satan could get East Jerusalem, the site of the temple, in the hands of the Muslims exclusively, he will back off because he won't be so worried. Okay? Now, Satan's approach in the past has been this. Going back to 1948, America and the United Nations both, now you take this and look it up in Google if you don't believe me, set up an arms embargo against Israel back in 1948. So Israel couldn't buy any weapons. So we had to go to Czechoslovakia, who helped us and gave us old crappy World War II weapons that we refurbished. Yet at the same time, Russia was freely and openly selling weapons to all the Arab enemies of Israel. America and the UN knew this and didn't do anything. The war came, Israel won, got land, more land. They tried more wars with Israel, 67, 73, so forth. Israel kept getting more land. And winning. Israel never lost the war against overwhelming odds. And then finally Satan says, well, this isn't working. This approach, Jehovah boomerangs on me, and Israel keeps growing in land. So he started a new campaign. And he got Israel to give land back for peace. I believe it was Clinton who leaned on Israel very hard. And we gave back to Egypt the Sinai Peninsula, which the nations hated to see us get because it had oil in it. We were getting our own oil. So Israel gave the land back. Satan says this is a great way to do it. It gets Jehovah mad at Israel. Maybe he'll destroy Israel. And it reverses the fulfilling of Bible prophecy that was taking place. The next big mess was the 2006 war with Lebanon. Israel won, hands down. Went into Lebanon with the tanks and established a 25-mile buffer zone. That's about 8 miles beyond the Litani River. At that time, it put Israel out of the range of all the rockets that the terrorists in Lebanon could muster up. Okay? Well, the nations didn't want to hear of that, so they forced Israel to leave the buffer zone, which it did. Then they played the same dirty game against Israel and the Americans, and Netanyahu was in on it with them. In 2008, it forced us to leave Gaza for peace, land for peace. And look how that turned out. Look how leaving Lebanon turned out. Now they want us to do the same thing with the West Bank. So Israel's not in the mood for land for peace after this Gaza thing. So Biden is thinking in his demented mind and his administration, let's get Israel really uncomfortable and scared without an actual invasion of Israel. And they'll get so scared, even though they know it's the wrong thing to do, out of desperation, they'll give the West Bank back. And then the Muslim terrorists rise up against them again, they'll have it much easier. So Biden doesn't mind all this pressure on Israel. Okay? Now let's talk about the Houthis in Yemen. It's a rather similar situation to Lebanon. Yemen has a real government, not the Houthis. Biden feels he could control the regular government, which is about a fourth the size of the Houthis. And so he doesn't care about Israel attacking the Houthis in Yemen. First of all, Israel's really too far away to go in and occupy Yemen, in his mind, but Gaza, no. Sinai Peninsula, no. Lebanon, no. Syria, no. But he's not thinking that it could happen in Yemen. So he let Israel go down there and blow the daylights out of this province or state in Yemen that the Houthis control, and Israel destroyed it pretty good. Biden didn't care. Israel can't occupy Yemen in his mind because when the Houthis are disabled, then the real government takes over. Israel wouldn't be likely to just move in and say, no, now Yemen is ours, or no, now Lebanon is ours. The nations of the world would go crazy. With Gaza, they could. So Biden is trying hard to keep Hamas alive and well in Gaza, so the land doesn't revert back to Israel and fulfill Bible prophecy. Okay? So Israel has great freedom to attack Lebanon. Now, he doesn't want Israel doing genocide, on civilians, but he doesn't care what happens to Hezbollah. Hezbollah bolsters Iran, and he doesn't like that. So Israel destroying Hezbollah is definitely fine with him. Okay? Israel destroying the Houthis is fine with him too, but the UK and the US have taken it upon themselves to several times a week conducting aerial attacks in Lebanon, take out missiles, drones, arms weapons storages, stuff like that. Okay? Because the Houthis under Yemen have been closing the Red Sea And there's a lot of nations that are mad about that. They feel Iran went too far because Iran's really in control. And that's why many countries threatened Iran about not doing a big attack on Israel. Iran has made a lot of enemies, especially with the Houthis. And now they're talking about doing the same thing in the Gibraltar Straits with Algeria and shutting the Mediterranean off from the Atlantic Ocean, and that's completely unacceptable to Europe and America. So they're getting rather mad at Iran. And the approach they've obviously decided to take is see if Israel could knock out Hezbollah, and then if Israel and America or the UK could knock out the Houthis, Iran will recede because Iran doesn't really want to emerge openly and conduct warfare, wants to hide behind their proxies. And when it comes to attacking Israel, they're just going to refer to it as self-defense. Because they're trying to deter Israel from ever flying into their territory again. Biden is not happy with Iran. If the Houthis calm down or get disabled, as does Hezbollah, the threat level from Iran would probably go down by 75%. And they know that. So Iran would become manageable by them or would just ignore them. Either way, it's satisfactory. So Biden is very, very likely going to attack Iran. Now, for Iran to wait for Biden to move more military assets into the Middle East is moronic, yet they're doing it. Why? Because they can't get enough of their weapons into Syria and Lebanon. And their idea is to overwhelm Israel with massive swarm strikes with drones and missiles. And what they got going on right now is Hezbollah doesn't have enough horsepower or firepower to pull it off. And Israel will roll into Lebanon and dismantle Hezbollah. This puts Iran into a position where they don't know what to do, and they're debating it. In the meantime, they're staging missile launches and stuff like that to create psychological warfare against Israel. People in Israel are very tense, but there's also a strong air of let's get it over with already. The military are enjoying this because it gives them a chance to keep, by the day and by the night, tactically knocking Hezbollah down. This reduces casualties and damage to Israel. The Houthis can't really do much to Israel, neither can Hamas. Now, the bases of the Iran-backed militias in Iraq and Syria are threatening American bases in the region. All of them. And I think they would predominantly go after Iraq and Syria, and I don't think Biden really cares too much about this one way or the other. It's not a big amount of military for America. So Biden is sitting there trying to figure out how to play this, okay? He doesn't seem to want to just do a preemptive attack on Iran, and it seems he's stopping Israel from doing that. What I'm being told is Biden told Netanyahu, if you do a preemptive attack on Iran, you're on your own, I'm out. Some ally. Iran sits there and threatens to devastate us into annihilation. And Biden tells Israel just sit and wait for it. Why? He wants Israel damaged. That will cause more Israelis to leave Israel, not come back. It'll stop Aliyah for years. And it would push Israel much closer to just throwing their hands up in the air and giving back the West Bank with Jerusalem. He doesn't want to see Iran emerge a victor and dominate the Middle East and control the oil, but he gets an alibi for attacking Iran if they attack his great ally Israel. And then he could get rid of Iran in a more complete fashion. And Israel gets busted up, and not really with a big war where Israel could take land back as he figures it. So to Biden, it's a win-win if Israel takes 1,000 or 2,000 missiles. The only place he really cares about a peace treaty with is Gaza, because Israel may take that over and just move in. And that's why Netanyahu is not releasing a day after plan. The day after plan is to let settlers, as they like to call them in Israel, go into Gaza and get cheap land, or free land, or whatever, and homestead there, basically. We know how to do the security. We do it in the West Bank. What they're going to do with 35,000 Hamas, I don't know. Ben-Gvir is going to be sanctioned by some country, I don't remember who it was, France or UK or something, for saying that if we cut the food and water in Gaza, the war would be over in 2 weeks. Is Ben-Gvir right? He's right. All we had to do back in October is, you could leave the water on if you want, for humanitarian reasons. Cut the electric, cut the internet, no food, and start pouring gasoline in the tunnels and lighting it on fire. Or gassing the tunnels, or both. When you do that, and the enemy, Hamas, knows you're going to find more and more tunnels every day, they're going to be afraid to go in the tunnels. Why would they go in the tunnels? They'll lay down, go to sleep on a cot, and figure that they may never wake up again. No. See, that's Netanyahu wanting to drag the war out. We got enemies within and without, the yoke within and the yoke without. So he didn't want to do that. He wanted to drag the war out so he could drag his 3 criminal trials out. But we could have won the war. Now, a lot of countries would have got mad at us, that's for sure. But they're mad at us anyway, aren't they? What I figure is going to happen, now this is me talking, that Netanyahu's going to go against Biden. Okay, and Biden's going to get disgusted with Netanyahu. That's my guess. And then we'll see nations gather against Judah and Jerusalem, like we read in Zechariah 12. Possibly there is Elijah working with the Levites with the tabernacle or even the temple to create, to scare the daylights out of them when they want to come in and annihilate. Okay, now, the tabernacle may not come first, because the tabernacle could likely be used in the wilderness when the people are making the great exodus to Israel in the coming days. They stop in the wilderness and enter into the bond of the covenant and pass under the rod. Entering the bond of the covenant could very likely mean that they're going to have the tabernacle so they could do offerings out there, which would mean some of those Levites would have to go into the wilderness, which could be arranged, and do the sacrifices and the offerings. So that could be the reason for the tabernacle. So I think that Iran is waiting to attack, which is a tactically bad thing to do because American assets are pouring in by the day. So they are waiting because they're trying to figure out a way to get weapons into Lebanon, more advanced weapons, probably long-range missiles and anti-ship missiles. They would probably love to see Lebanon attack Greece and Cyprus and American and UK warships. All right, I guess that gives you the picture as to where we're at today. In addition, Iran is getting psychological warfare on Israel, which I don't think Biden cares about. He thinks it's probably okay to scare the people in Israel. Anything to get that two-state solution, because then they don't have to go to an all-out war in Israel, against Israel, and all the all-out wars that they tried since 1948, they lost, and Israel came out ahead. But Satan will freak out when he doesn't see his two-state solution, and Netanyahu turns against him, and that will be the Zechariah 12 culmination as I'm seeing it. These things could happen in a matter, literally in hours or days. They're not going to take a long time. Netanyahu is not very interested in listening to Biden all the time. He has his own agenda. He has to emerge a war hero to stay in office here. Now he's trying to reform the judiciary again in Israel, openly. Now that means he's trying to change it to weaken the Supreme Court and to enable him to get a law passed that gives him immunity from anything he ever did when he was holding office. And that should mean his 3 criminal cases would go off. Just, they would be dismissed. Which means Netanyahu is considering ending the war. If he could do judicial reform and he's not going to go to jail, he'll end the war. Is he going to end the war with, Hamas remaining there? No. No, he's not that idiotic. He would be, get a vote of no confidence. He knows he can't do that. I don't know what he would do. I mean, the smart money would be stop humanitarian aid, stop the water, stop the electricity, and wait a few days and you'll have it. That's it. How many days do you think it's going to take? 2 weeks? What about the civilians in Gaza? What about them? Giving into that is giving into the human hostage practices of Hamas. There's rumors that Sinwar, the head of Hamas in Gaza, is in Baghdad, Iraq, but I don't think so. I think those are just silly rumors that are not founded in fact. I don't think he's there. I don't think he could have got out to get there. They said they almost got him the other day. They missed him by minutes. Like when they got in there, the coffee was still warm, that kind of thing. Let me go check the chat and see if we're getting questions. So that's the analysis that I don't think you're going to hear from anybody else. No, I'm told that the diesel subs, when they're running electric on the batteries, are much quieter than the nuclear subs. Check it out in Google. When they're running on diesel engines, they're probably not, but when they're running on electric, the batteries, they're very quiet. What's happening over there? Well, everybody's tense here. They want to get it over with already. And that's it. That, in a nutshell. Yeah, we got a bunch of the haters there. These are the last days of Iran, guys. That's the long and the short and the tall of it, Jeremiah 49. And I know the church doesn't preach too much about this. They do a little bit, but not too much. I'll be right back. I'm going to take a quick break and get a cup of coffee. So give me a minute or two. Not long. I have a turbo water boiler. It's instant coffee. It'll go quick. So I guess before we go into Bible prophecy, I should analyze what is likely to happen with Iran and the Middle East. First, we have no guarantee, no dates for Jeremiah 49. Jeremiah 49 uses the word Elam, E-L-A-M. Elam consisted of parts of what we call Iran, Iraq, and Syria. Iraq and Syria today are proxy satellites of Iran. The government of Syria controls the piece of Syria that was part of the land, Elam, the same with Iraq. Okay, and the same with Iran. So all these three countries are going to get it. They get busted up very bad, so bad that people run out of these countries, scatter around the world, and the Lord says he sends the sword after them. So they're going to do some bad things. Have they already done bad things? Yes, they have. Is Iran responsible for the deaths of Israelis? Yes, through their proxies that they support, train, finance, give weapons to, and protection. Yes. In the eyes of Jehovah, the blood's on their head. I don't have doubt about that. Okay? And Iraq and Syria too. Go back with the old wars in Lebanon. Okay? The recompense period, which the Bible translates as a year, but it's not a literal year, is over the controversy of Zion. And these countries don't want Israel here at all. Okay? So, but does that mean it's going to happen this week? No. Iran may back out. They may attack some consulate or embassy of Israel somewhere and laugh at us, on the media and say, well, we sure terrified you. We gave you a proportionate payback. Don't be stupid and do it again or it'll be worse. Well, they could do that. But if they do that, what is the net effect of this? Now, this is why we should think that's not going to happen. I'm talking tactics with you. Because Israel, by the day, is beating Hezbollah down to being of no effect. When they beat it down enough, they're just going to go occupy up till the Litani River. Okay? That would be temporary. But they're going to put Hezbollah into of no real value like Hamas. But then they got to make sure that Hezbollah can't rejuvenate and make a comeback. And the Americans and the countries in NATO and stuff like that are going to try to make sure that a non-Muslim psycho government doesn't emerge in Lebanon again, and that they want, this secular Catholic Christian Muslim government of Lebanon to emerge. Now, Bible prophecy is we're going to take a major piece of Lebanon, if not the whole thing, back. Okay? Lebanon, open your doors, let the cedars of Lebanon burn. And prophecies are Lebanon gets beaten out. They get bad. They get hit very bad. So what the nations want is not what the nations get. No surprise there. Okay, they're enemies of Jehovah. So that's one big reason why Iran's not going to wait. The second thing is Israel will negotiate with Biden and others and say, look, we need assurances that, Hamas can't reemerge. And they'll say, well, what do you want to do? Kill another 35,000 of them? And, Netanyahu's going to say, no, we can't do that. Nobody wants them. We can't ship them out. What we want to do is take all the leaders, which is probably going to be in the vicinity of 50 to 100, or however many leaders are left, 25, and deport them someplace. I don't know where. every country is going to say, we don't want them, you know. So that's why one of the reasons they're doing targeted assassinations is to break up the leadership, you know. So they want to get them out of there, and there's going to have to be real strong assurances that there's no smuggling from Egypt, and they're going to have to cough up the hostages at the beginning of some sort of ceasefire, and there's not going to be any exchange for 5,000 terrorists. 5,000 terrorists released from our jails are going to go right to Gaza, get an AK-47 and start shooting Israeli soldiers and replenish the ranks of Hamas. We know that. America knows that. Biden would be content with Hamas kind of neutralized as long as they could continue to live in Gaza and Israel doesn't move into Gaza. Now, Netanyahu would like the Israelis to move back into Gaza, would make him a big hero. How the heck you're going to rebuild Gaza is the mystery of the Western world. 100 dump trucks a day, which admittedly they can probably raise several hundred a day, but 100 dump trucks a day just to get the rubble out of there is 2 years. So let's say they use 300 dump trucks a day, okay? So instead of 24 months, they get it down to 8 months. All right, now the rubble's out of there 8 months later. What do you do with these people for 8 months? They're intense, right? When the rainy season's cold, rainy season's coming, okay, they're intense. What do you do then? Well, you're probably going to need someplace around $500 billion to rebuild the place. You're going to let Hamas rebuild it? All they're going to do is every building that goes up is going to have a tunnel and an underground bunker. How are you going to supervise that? How are you going to do it? You got to bring foreign workers in, and somebody's got to supervise it. You know, it's got so many pitfalls, so many problems. How is it ever going to work? It's not. They're saying it could even be $750 billion and take 15 years. Why do they want them there? They don't want Israel to be fulfilling Bible prophecy and get the land back. At any cost, because that's what Satan wants. Okay? So, for Iran to wait, their chances of Hamas becoming a viable terrorist entity in the near future, or maybe even within a year or two, falls to very, very low probability, almost nothing. And Hezbollah will be busted up. And with the threat of Hezbollah gone and Hamas gone, Israel is likely to start flying daily air raids into the Houthi territory and blowing them to smithereens. And the US and UK are doing it, but they're not as aggressive as Israel. So they'll lose the Houthis. So now Israel, without Hamas, without the Houthis, without Hezbollah, if they want to mess with somebody, they got to go mess with them directly, and that means eventually there's going to be an invasion of Iran. You see, Iran may not know what it wants to do yet. You got to understand that. Maybe there's no decisive decision taken yet on Iran because Iran hasn't committed to, okay, let's annihilate Israel. They're sitting there trying to know what to do. If you think that they're not at least concerned about all the American, assets in the area, you're wrong. The generals are very concerned. And they're scared. They'll get killed. They'll be war criminals. The Congress of Iran is scared. The Khomeini is scared. He'll get killed. He's got a target on his back that's 3 feet, red letters with bright light bulbs flashing. He's a primary target. Netanyahu would love to barbecue this Khomeini guy, but he can't do that. But he would do it if he could get away with it. But he'd love to kill him with bombs or something. And all the brass of the Iranian, the IRGC and stuff like that. And they'll also get driven out of Syria. You better believe that. That's going to be pretty cut and dry, that they'll get run out of Syria. Because they've been attacking the American bases. They'll get busted up. I don't know how bad of a massacre it'll be. Probably not that bad, but they'll run them out, and America will want it. Uh-oh, we got a launch. Let's see, maybe this is it. We'll take a look. That was 2 launches. Let's take a look where they came from. It'll be a minute, I'll tell you. Three launches. It's not Iran. It's by Lebanon. They see a drone. There's an alert on a drone. Let me see what else this is. Oh, wait a second. No, cancel that. I didn't have the right day. I was looking far back in the past. Cancel that. Let me go back, start over, and tell you what's going on. One of the red alerts is up by the Lebanese border. Unrecognized aircraft. That's a drone. So it's by the Lebanese border, the problems. Let's see what else is the problem. I think it's the same unrecognized aircraft with red alerts going off in different locations. This is not Iran. This is, it's not even a missile attack. It's just a drone threat, which can be not much of anything, It could be just some non-weaponized drone, or I don't know what it is. There was multiple red alerts to warn the people up there about this, so they would go into their shelters, because you don't know what it is, You don't know. So it's going to be very stupid tactically for Iran to not push forward with this big attack against Israel, but it's also very stupid for them to push again with a big attack against Israel when they can't do much damage. The coalition of the Sunni states that will take down the missiles and the drones coming towards Israel is still intact. And American warships and planes are all over the place trying to take down missiles and drones if they come, plus Israeli. So if Iran starts launching, Israel said they will immediately respond. So they will launch against Iran immediately when Missile 1 comes, or Drone 1. And I think Biden is okay with that. If they start attacking Israel and they start attacking American bases, you could pretty much count on America, the UK, and other countries attacking Iran. I think so. So Iran is in, they're getting batted around like a ping pong ball. They don't know what to do. So they really may have not made up their mind. They can't get the weapons into Syria they were trying to do, into Lebanon. The Houthis can't do much. The British and the Americans keep knocking out their radar and their missile launchers. Syria's in the same boat as Lebanon. The weapon shipments have been getting destroyed. There's American bases in Syria and Iraq, so they don't know what to do. This is likely what's going on. That's why you're getting all these mixed signals. We're going to attack. Oh, it didn't happen. We're going to attack. It didn't happen. We're going to attack. It didn't happen. They want to attack, but on their terms, which is using their proxies heavily, and that's not working out for them right now. So if their proxies aren't causing a lot of damage, guess what? The brunt of the retaliation is in Iran, right? Okay, you got it? That's it. It's not rocket science. The red alert stopped. It's not Iran shooting missiles or drones. It came out of Lebanon. It was just a drone. An unidentified aircraft means a drone. If it was a fighter jet or something like that, what would be in the skies is with black smoke and then okay. Let's go through some scriptures. Isaiah 47 to 49 with a hard look at America, and let's get some insights that I just picked up today about what's going on. Okay, here we go. It's about the daughter of Babylon, which is America. Isaiah 47:1. Come down and sit in the dust, virgin daughter of Babylon. Okay, the dust, sitting in the dust means, in Israel parlance, mourning, not A.M. mourning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, like you have dead relatives and friends, okay? Sit on the ground, there is no throne, O daughter of the Chaldeans. Okay, now, in Jeremiah 50:51, the daughter of Babylon is referred to as the land of the Chaldeans and stuff like that. It's the daughter of Babylon. It clearly says so. Sit on the ground that's mourning, there is no throne. Okay. Let's check the words in English. Throne is kise. It's the throne, the seat, the throne. All right. Let's take a look at what is this meaning. Well, to do that, we got to go to Revelation 17. I'm not going to bring us all through Revelation 17 and 18. It'd be too much Bible study, but the end of one is, come hither and I will show thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters. The judgment. Okay? Alright. Sitteth upon many waters. Waters are people. With whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, spiritual fornication, worshiping other gods. And the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the
wanted for fornication. And then we go on and we see the woman's riding on the beast, and she has a name written, mystery. Okay, it doesn't really say mystery, it says secret Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, abominations of the earth. And that's the daughter of Babylon. And then we go on. And then he says, I'll tell you the mystery. Then he says, the beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit. You should reference, I think it's Revelation 9. So he was on the earth, then he got put in the pit, and now he will come out of the pit. And then it says he goes into perdition, which is the lake of fire, because when Yeshua returns to earth, to land on earth, so to speak, with New Jerusalem, the beast and the false prophet get thrown in the lake of fire. They have the honor of being the first ones to go in there. All right, and then it says, and they that dwell on the earth shall wonder whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was and is not and yet is. He was, and then he's put down into the pit, and then he comes back. And here is the mind which has wisdom, the 7 heads are 7 mountains. This is 7 continents, I believe, which the woman sitteth on. America, today maybe not so much, go back 10 years or something. For many years it was the dominant power in the world. And there are 7 kings. 5 have fallen, 1 is, and the other is not yet come, and when he cometh, he must continue a short space. And the beast that was and is not, even he is the 8th, and is of the 7, and goeth into perdition, the pit, the lake of fire. And the 10 horns which thou sawest are 10 kings which have received no kingdom as yet. A thought is that could be bricks. It's a good thought because they don't have a real kingdom yet. But the kings that are in there have a kingdom, so that doesn't fit that great either, does it? But receive power as kings 1 hour with the beast. These have one mind, and shall give their power and strength unto the beast. These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them, for he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. So when you hear Yeshua being referred to as King of Kings, he's the King of Israel, right? It makes sense now, doesn't it? And he saith unto me, the waters, you remember, David shall not lack a man to sit on the throne, and Yeshua is of the line of David. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest where the whore sitteth are people and multitudes and heathen and tongues. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh, and burn her with fire. Well, the whore gets burned up, and we'll find out who the whore is in a minute. For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will. He sends them delusions or whatever, so they fulfill his will. They can't win. And to agree
and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of God shall be fulfilled. And the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. It's a city. It's Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia. That is not part of the 50 states, yet it runs the 50 states. The seat of the government is in Washington, D.C. Why is it called the woman? Because of Columbia. So I need to show you who Columbia is. And that's who they named the capital after, the District of Columbia. It's the woman, and I'll show it to you. Boy, you won't doubt it at all. Just give me a minute to get some pictures. Here is the icon, or the logo, or the picture, I should say, icon, of Columbia Motion Pictures. There's the woman, curiously with shortish hair and flat-chested. I wonder if it's a transgender thing going on. It's on a pedestal, dressed in some sort of unusual clothing, holding the light, holding the torch, the light, the way. Okay? That's the Columbia. That's the woman. That's the whore of Babylon. Now, how can we also get a handle on this and why it's so important? Well, we need to see this statue on top of the Capitol building, which is also Columbia. I'll find it for you. They call it here the Statue of Freedom. It's like the Statue of Liberty, which I didn't get to yet, but we will. Here's this abomination, this graven image, mad upon her idols. It's on the roof of the Capitol. It's another flat-chested woman. Okay, if it's a woman or it's a transgender thing or something going on. Okay, having a bird on its head with a sword, wearing those robes. Now we see this again. Let me try to get a good picture. Well, that's not a picture, that's a drawing. Let's get off of that. Here's a picture of the Statue of Liberty. It's Columbia, holding the light, come to me, the light, freedom, flat-chested woman wearing unusual robes, holding something on a pedestal. You see, the columns on the pedestal, if you could see them, they're not that hard to see, are the columns from a Roman or a Greek temple. I'll explain this to you with pictures. See, the Statue of Liberty is a temple to them because it's a depiction, a graven image, idol of their god. Okay? I'll show you what the Roman temples look like in a moment. Let me find a good picture for you.
this is what they looked like, and they got those pillars. And look at the triangular thing in the front. It's called the Tiffium, and we're going to see more of that momentarily. That's a Roman temple. Let's see what a Greek temple looks like. I know it's the same thing, but I'll show it to you. There's a Greek temple, same thing, pillars, Tiffium, triangle, okay? Now, let's see what the Supreme Court building in the United States looks like. Here it is, elevated up, the pillars, just like a Greek or Roman temple, right down to the Tiffium, with graven images on the Tiffium. I don't know who those mythological characters are, I don't care. It's a temple to them. And let's show you another one, a very famous one. You know, they tell you to follow the money trail, right? Well, we'll put this into a better light for you. Let me get a good picture for you. Well, this will do. There's your New York Stock Exchange. I had a summer job there when I was in college. It's got the Tiffium triangle up there, the pillars. It's a temple. They're worshiping Mammon, the money god in there or something. See if I can find you another one. This happens to be the White House. There's your pillars, there's your Tiffium triangle. It's a false god temple. The White House, the Supreme Court, the New York Stock Exchange. And who is this goddess? Columbia. They named the capital after Columbia. Columbia, that's who it is, Columbia. The District of Columbia. That's the whore. That's the great city that's going to be destroyed. I trust I got through. Back to Isaiah 47. So we'll go to verse 3. Thy nakedness shall be uncovered, yea. Now thy nakedness is uncovered, and see thy shame. I mean, we're dealing with what? A flat-chested woman or some sort of transgender thing? Well, I don't know what's going on, right? Just think about that. Thy shame shall be seen. I will take vengeance, and I will not meet thee as a man. As for our Redeemer, Jehovah of armies is his name, the Holy One of Israel. Sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans. Darkness. Well, we know what that means, right? Darkness. Did that happen to the Egyptians when the Israelites were coming out? Yup. 3 days. Of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. It's Columbia.
I was wroth with my people, I have polluted mine inheritance, and gave them into thy hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancients hast thou verily heavily laid thy yoke. It's talking about the Jews. There's just about as many known Jews in America as there are in Israel, roughly 6.5 million. And thou sayest, I shall be a lady forever, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst thou remember the latter end of it. Remember, maybe like know the latter, maybe, didn't pay attention to it or something like that. Therefore, hear now this, thou that are given to pleasures. Sounds like the rich and the famous and the governments in America. That dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thy heart, I am and none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. The children are the ones serving the unclean spirits. Those are her children. But these two things shall come to thee in a moment, in a day, the loss of children and widowhood, not married to the land anymore. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge it hath perverted thee, and thou hast said in thy heart, I am, and none else beside me. She thinks she's the greatest. And America does operate that way. Therefore shall evil come upon thee, thou shalt not know from whence it riseth. And mischief or evil shall fall upon thee, thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherewith thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail. Thou art wearied in the multitude of thy counsels. You're getting worn out with all the advice they're getting. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly procrastinators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Behold, they shall be as stubble, the fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame. There shall not be a coal to warm at, nor fire to sit before it. Thus shall they be unto thee with whom thou hast labored. Even thy merchants from thy youth, they shall wander every one to his own quarter, none shall say. Well, this is consistent with Jeremiah 50:51, where the agricultural workers, for fear of the sword, go back to the countries they came from. And this happens suddenly, and the sleeper agents could fulfill a tremendous amount of this. In terms of daughter of Babylon getting burned, there's a number of different scenarios. You know, we could say Russian submarines missile attacking it. We could talk sabotage, fire balloons, or God doing it, or the two witnesses. I mean, it can just go on and on. Isaiah 48. Hear you this, house of Jacob, which are called by the name of Israel, and are come forth out of the waters of Judah, which swear by the name of Jehovah, and make mention of the God of Israel, but not in truth, nor in righteousness. This is probably referencing the ones, you know, the Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox rabbis. For they call themselves of the holy city, Jerusalem, and stay themselves upon the God of Israel. Jehovah of armies is his name. I have declared the former things from the beginning. And, you know, so he says Jehovah of armies is his name, Shem. I'll check that, make sure it's, name. Isaiah 48:3. I have declared the former things from the beginning, and they went forth out of my mouth, and I showed them. I did them suddenly, and they came to pass. Because I suddenly, remember he's saying I did them suddenly. So he takes them by surprise. Because I knew that thou art obstinate, and thy neck is an iron sinew, and thy brow brass. Stubborn. I have even from the beginning declared it to thee before it came to pass. I showed it thee, lest thou shouldst say, mine idol hath done them, and my graven image and my molten image hath commanded them. Thou hast heard, see all this, and will not you declare it? I have showed thee new things from this time, even hidden things, and thou didst not know them. They are created now, and not from the beginning, even before the day when thou heardest them not. Lest thou shouldst say, behold, I know them. Yea, thou hast heardest not, yea, thou knewest not, yea, from that time that thine ear was not opened, for I knew that thou wouldst deal very treacherously, and wast called a transgressor from the womb. For my name's sake will I defer mine anger. For my name's sake will I Defer mine anger, and for my praise will I refrain for thee, that I cut thee not off. Behold, I have refined thee, burning the dross out, but not with silver. I have chosen thee in the furnace of affliction. Okay, where is God's furnace? It says in the scripture in Jerusalem. And then we read in Zechariah 12 that those in Jerusalem have their strength in Jehovah. That's where he says his furnace is, in Jerusalem. For my own sake, even for my own sake, will I do it. For how should my name be polluted, and I will not give my glory unto another. Hearken unto me, O Jacob and Israel, my called. I am he. I am the first. I also am the last. My hand also hath laid the foundation of the earth, and my right hand hath spanned the heavens. When I call unto them, they stand up together. I guess he's talking about the heavens and the earth. All you assemble yourselves, and hear which among them hath declared these things. I guess he's talking about the idols and stuff. Jehovah hath loved him. He will do his pleasure on Babel, that's America, and his arm shall be on the Chaldeans. Not good. I, even I, have spoken, yea, I have called him. I have brought him, and shall make his way prosperous. Come you near unto me. Hear you this, I have not spoken. I have not spoken in secret from the beginning, from the time that it was there. Am I, and now am I. And now the Lord, Adonai Yehovah, and his spirit had sent me. It's Yeshua talking. Thus saith Yehovah, thy Redeemer. Ka'al, redeem. And Holy One of Israel. He's the Holy One of Israel. How about that? Not America. I am Yehovah Elohim, which teacheth thee to profit. Teachest thee to profit, which leadeth thee by the way that thou should go. The word is a lamp unto thy feet. When you follow the word, the path lights up. And when the path is lit up, you don't stumble or fall. And you don't fall in ditches and pits or anything like that. In verse 18, oh, that thou hast hearkened to my commandments, plural, then thy peace been as a river, and thy righteousness as the waves of the sea. It's bad for us too. but not for much longer. Thy seed also had been as the sand, and the offspring of thy bowels like the grave thereof, like the gravel thereof, like the gravel thereof. His name should not have been cut off, nor destroyed from before me. I think they're talking about Yeshua. Go ye forth of Babylon, that's America, flee you from the Chaldeans. With a voice of singing, declare you, tell this, utter it even to the end of the earth. Say, Jehovah hath redeemed his servant Yaakov. So obviously you're going to be leaving the daughter of Babylon when he has redeemed Yaakov in the year of redemption, which could be this afternoon. I don't know. Recompenses is now. I guess it's very shortly. Okay, that's a definitive scripture. And they thirsted not when he led them through the deserts. He caused the waters to flow out of the rock for them. He clave the rock also, and the waters gushed. There is no peace, saith Jehovah, unto the wicked. They don't have peace. When you look at videos of the mansions they live in Beverly Hills and places like that, you frequently see in a house, they got these 15, 20,000 square foot houses. They'll frequently have 7 bars. 7 bars where they keep liquor. They don't ever want to be far away from a bar. These people are, I guess you would say, alcoholics. They might be very functional alcoholics, but they still like the beer. Now they can justify it, They could have wine with lunch, wine with dinner, brandy or cocktails after wine, or they might have some, beer in the morning, or some of what that Charles character in the UK has, what do you call it, Scottish eggs or something, some kind of eggs with Scotch whiskey. They find ways to make it justifiable. I find the crap is rather obnoxious, but they like it. I mean, when you get up in the morning and you pour yourself a shot of Scotch or vodka, you've got to deal with the fact that you're an alcoholic. Okay? But if you get up in the morning and you make yourself some fried eggs and you throw wine or beer or liquor in there with it, not enough to burn the alcohol out, of course, now you're just, being creative and you're cooking and, and a lot of them that go to lunch, when I used to work in the world in industry, the salesmen used to call me. I was a branch manager for a company in San Francisco, and salesmen would call on me from manufacturers, and they would, we'd go to lunch, they'd pick up the bill, what the heck, I always knew plenty of good restaurants to go to. And I used to see patterns with them. They'd be nice to the waitress, and the waitress knew what these alcoholics were. Businessmen alcoholics would usually tip nice if you took care of them. And as soon as the menus came, you'd say, "Hun, be a good girl and bring me a martini, please." And she'd know what she was dealing with. An alkie. So she'd scoot off and get him a martini. Sometimes it would be a double martini. And bring it right back to him. He'd say, "Oh, you're a really good girl. Could you bring me another one in a few minutes?" And they wouldn't have 4 or 5. I never saw that. They'd have usually 2. Okay? And it's not correct that you have the second martini after your meal. Plus, it's going to slow down absorption because you got the food. So they get 2. Would they get drunk? No. Would they get close to drunk? No. All they were doing probably was getting themselves level. Maybe they felt a slight euphoria or something like that. But these are people that needed alcohol. Once in a while, if I was pushed, I mean, I'm talking once every 3 or 4 months, I'd have a beer with the meal, but I hated that too. I like coffee. I have coffee. In those days, I used to like black coffee. Now I like cream in it. And I used to ask them to put ice in the coffee, unless it was really cold or something. So I didn't, put the coffee to my mouth and burn from McDonald's was the worst. I used to go to McDonald's if I wanted a cheap cup of coffee back in the 70s, it was 10 cents. And I would ask them to throw some of the ice from the soda in the coffee so you could drink it. But that stuff would be scalding hot. They had lawsuits, it was so hot. And, I used to tell women and men too that if you want a self-defense weapon that you're not going to get in trouble for, when you're walking around at night or in a bad area and you're concerned, go to McDonald's, buy yourself a large cup of coffee, take the cover off, maybe pour a little bit out, a quarter or a half inch out so it doesn't spill on you. Hold it in your hand when you walk. If somebody tries to grab your purse or push you into an alley or accost you or something like that, throw the coffee in their face and run away. Nobody's going to put you away in jail for something like that. They're not going to do a thing to you. What are they going to do? Convict you for coffee flinging when someone's assaulting you? I used to tell people to do that all the time. Once in a blue moon, I did it. Would it be an effective weapon? Oh, if it was in even 10 minutes of getting it out of McDonald's, it'd scald you. They made that stuff deadly, they'd be sitting there boozing. I'd like the coffee. And I used to enjoy the food. They used to take us to really nice restaurants. I used to take my salesman with me sometimes. They'd take us to really nice restaurants where you could get, good piece of fish or some, Italian, veal parmesan or something like that. I'd sit there and enjoy the meal, and they'd be sitting there, quietly trying to imbibe their alcohol. Then what these people would do, the lunch would hold them over, and then at 5 o'clock when they got off work, they'd go to a bar right near the place of business and have one or two. Back in those days, you didn't go to jail for drunk driving. No. What they did then, well, if you go back to the early 70s, what they did in California, like San Francisco cops, if they saw you driving drunk and they didn't have it in for you, what they do is they tell you to pull the car over and park it. If it was a bus stop, they tell you nobody will ticket it, to leave it in the bus stop. At night, I'm talking late at night. And then they would call the dispatch and have them send a cab for you. And they usually wouldn't keep your keys, not in San Francisco. And they just, got you in a cab, and you're supposed to go home and get up in the morning and go back and get your car. When I was young, working as a deputy, I used to work in the jail a lot, most of the time. Well, pretty much I was in the jail all the time. And I used to work in the booking office, and the highway patrol would bring drunks in, and they were mean. They'd book them and stuff like that. But if we found a drunk highway patrolman, and that happens, we'd drag them in and put them. We had beds there for emergencies where you would sleep over. We'd put them in a bed over there, let them sleep it off, and send it home. Beverly Hills police were well known for this back then. When you had Beverly Hills driver's license and Beverly Hills registration of your car and they pulled you over, they didn't give you a ticket. This was the Beverly Hills policy for residents of Beverly Hills. They would have you park the car, okay, and they kept your keys. Then they would stick a business card that they had into your pocket and tell you in the morning call the desk sergeant, and he'll tell you where your car is. You go down and pick the keys up, and you know, they'd even drive you to where the car was. Okay, so they were entertaining the drunks. Now, San Francisco police were pretty much doing that too. They would, you know, they'd give you a break. They didn't really bother you about it. Okay? Then later on in the 70s, they passed a law where you would get a $302 fine for drunk driving. Okay? So what happened is they would take you to the station. They had a drunk tank. What a drunk tank was a large cell where you could put, even depending on the department, you could put 4 or 5 people, some of them 16, 18 people in there. And it had a bench that you sat on that was hard, made of wood often with a varnish on it, so it was waterproof, or plastic or steel. And the floor was concrete, and it had drains in it, and it would come with, you'd have a hose, so you could take, because these people would barf and pee and poop too and everything, so you could take your hose and hose all the stuff out of there once you emptied the drunk tank. So you would put them, they'd get a citation, and you'd park them in the drunk tank for typically about 3 hours. Usually they, not right away, but after at least 2 hours or 3 hours, depending on the department, they'd start giving the people coffee if they wanted it. And by the 4th hour, everybody'd be out of there pretty much. The alcohol would wear off, you know. If they felt you were still inebriated, they would just stay 5 hours or 6 hours. If you needed something to eat, they'd probably scrounge up a bologna sandwich or something like that for you. Something simple and carbohydrate-y, and you know, so you would wind up in the drunk tank for a few hours, and there usually wouldn't be much rape or assault or anything in the drunk tank because they were watched very closely. Somebody could fall, you know. So it was not a real traumatic experience, you know. And they had one for women, they had one for men, and they would, you know, you get released, your car would usually be towed, or if they were nice, they parked it and told you where it was parked. It would depend, you know, where you got picked up and stuff like that. So, but then they got, by the latter 70s, it was getting like, if you, like 77 or something like that, it was like if you got, I never got a drunk driving, by the way, but it would be like if you got 2 of them within, I think, 18 months or a year. I think it was 18 months. Then you had to go to a school where they taught you about the evils of drunk driving. I think it was like an all-day course, like at Runa Saturday or something. And then if it happened again, they'd start suspending your license. They wouldn't really suspend it most of the time. They would suspend it so you could only use it to go to work and come home. So you could drive at, you know, 7 in the morning and, you know, maybe 6 o'clock at night. Then if you violated that, they would start taking your license away for 6 months or a year and things of that nature, you know. Stuff like that happened. You know, so then they got to the point where there was an organization called MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and they started, this is about 40 years ago, and they started pushing for prison sentences, so they got laws passed where you had to go to jail for at least a day, or, you know, and then they got to weekends in jail, and they went on from there. It's a bad thing, and you know, I knew guys that were drunks, and they used to drive home, and they'd get up in the morning and they couldn't remember driving home. They don't know how they got there, and they'd be really scared they were going to kill themselves. And the next weekend they would do it again. So they really wanted you to, if you were getting caught, they wanted you to go to work, be productive, come home, not be in jail. And then if you wanted to drink, a gallon of scotch in your house and pass out, they didn't care. They just didn't want you going near the car. So they were forcing you to be a controlled drunk. Of course, if you lived within walking distance of a bar, you could, walk over there and get blotto and then drag yourself home or take a taxi. If you want to take a taxi, they don't care. Now, there were wealthy people in Beverly Hills that had chauffeurs. And if you were drinking in the back of the car, you had a bar in there, you were drinking and the chauffeur was driving, they didn't care, they left you alone. As long as the chauffeur didn't show any signs of inebriation, they didn't care how drunk you were. You'd be drunk as a skunk, they didn't care. It was fine with them, as long as... Then they started expanding it to drunk on boats. It used to be that they didn't really bother with the boats, They weren't running, sobriety tests on people in boats on the water, because you can't really do that. They didn't have breathalyzers, so they weren't really enforcing guys on the lakes and in the waters getting drunk and going fishing and water skiing. That kind of, they started cracking down on that. And then there were people that, like in the early 70s and 60s, people would take drugs and they'd get picked up and they didn't smell from alcohol, and they told the highway patrol that, they took some medicine they went to the dentist or the doctor for something, and the guys would switch gears on them and say, oh, you shouldn't drive with that medicine. Well, let's get your car off the road. Let's call somebody, a friend or relative, to come take you, drive you home, and the whole thing shifted. Because they weren't really into drugs too much then. Now, if they caught you with a needle hanging out of your arm, well, Okay, I'm in Isaiah 48:20. Go you forth of Babylon, flee from the Chaldeans with a voice of singing. Another place it says you will go out without haste. So you're not going to be running out like somebody's chasing you. That's not going to happen. Now it's saying you're going to go out singing. Oh. Well, that's a nice perspective to look at it in, and it's the truth. It's the truth. Declare you, tell this, utter it even to the end of the earth, say, Jehovah hath redeemed his servant Yaakov. So when you're coming out, it's over. Redemption's, in progress, I should say, I guess. And they thirsted not, it depends how you interpret it, but things are real good. And they thirsted not when he led them through the desert. He caused the waters to flow out of the rock for them. He clave the rock also, and the waters gushed out. There is no peace, saith the Lord, unto the wicked. So that's how I got off on that discourse of the drunks and all their alcoholic beverage stations, which we call bars, in their mansions, and in their yachts. They'll have 4, 5, 6, 7. Look it up. Bars in their yacht, wherever they are, they're near a bar. These people, if you were going to build a large yacht or a large boat, would you even put a bar in there? I could see you put a Pepsi, Coca-Cola, 7-Up bar in there, like a soda fountain with ice cream and, to make stuff for the kids or even yourself. Why not, right? But would you, put multiple stock bars full of hard liquor all over the place? What the heck would you do that for? Would I keep a refrigerator with, various kinds of bottled water and juices around? Yeah. So if I was sitting out in the sun on the yacht, I could go grab a cold drink. Yeah, I would do that. would I have on my yacht, 25 liters of scotch and 25 liters of vodka and bourbon and all the yacht, or whatever this stuff is, in all the different bars around the yacht added together? What for? Would I keep big walk-in freezers full of all kinds of gourmet foods? Oh, yes, I would. Okay, Isaiah 49:1. Listen, O isles, unto me, and hearken, you people from far. Could we consider North and South America isles? It's a good question. It'd be awfully big to consider them to be an isle. Let's see what the word isles means. That doesn't mean isles. It means island, coast, shore, region. Let's see what Strong's does with it. Dry land, the coast, an island, country. I don't know. It could be. I don't know that one. I mean, it's a possibility, but it's an awful big hunk of land, North and South America. But I don't know. It doesn't, like the Middle East is connected into Europe. That's huge. Africa is also huge, much bigger than South America. But I don't know. Listen, O isles, unto me, hearken, you people from far. Jehovah has called me from the womb, from the bowels of my mother hath he made mention of my name, and he hath made my mouth like a sharp sword. Who do you know comes on a white horse with a double-edged sword coming out of his mouth? Yeshua, this is Yeshua. In the shadow of his hand hath he hid me. He was hidden in the Old Testament. Okay? He was there, but concealed. And made me a polished shaft in his quiver hath he hid me. And said unto me, Thou art my servant, O Israel. Let's take a look at this word servant. Yeah, it could be servant. Okay, O Israel, in whom I will be glorified. Okay. Jehovah will be glorified. Yeshua will be glorified in Israel. Then I said, I have labored in vain. I have spent my strength for naught, and in vain. Yet surely my judgment is with Jehovah, and my work with my God, my Elohim. And that would be Yeshua talking, I believe. And now saith Jehovah that formed me from the womb, to be his servant, to bring Yaakov again to him. Isn't that sweet? Though Israel be not gathered, yet shall I be glorious in the eyes of Jehovah, and my God shall be my strength. So he sent Yeshua, the firstborn son, to bring Israel back to him. And he said, It is a light thing that thou should be my servant to raise up the tribes of Yaakov, the 12 tribes, and to restore the preserved of Israel. What does that word preserved mean? Nitzar. Preserved or delivered. I don't like that translation. All right, the delivered of Israel, to restore. Something's not right with this translation. The return. The shuv is return. The return of the preserved, the remnant, I guess you could say, of the elect of Israel. I will also give thee for a light to the goyim, that thou mayest be my Yasha salvation unto the end of the earth. Out to the end of the earth. Yeah, that's okay. Thus saith Jehovah, Redeemer of Israel, and his Holy One to him whom man despiseth. That's Yeshua. To him whom the heathen abhorreth, Yeshua. To a servant of rulers, kings shall see and arise. Princes also shall worship because of Jehovah, that is faithful, and the Holy One of Israel, and he shall choose thee. Thus saith Jehovah, in an acceptable time. That's the acceptable year in Isaiah 61, redemption. In an acceptable time have I heard thee, and in a day of salvation, and that word is Yeshua. That's the name of the Messiah, Yeshua. In the day, it's saying Yom, Yah, it says Yom, day, Yeshua, day of Yeshua. That's what it's really saying. I heard thee, let's check the word heard. Let's answer it, I think. Respond, the answer. Acceptable time have I heard thee, I guess with an implication he'll answer because he hears. In day Yeshua, day salvation, that would be redemption, that would be, you see, it's a double meaning. It's the appearing of the sign of the Son of Man, which is redemption, the everlasting life. And that's why it says Yeshua. And they don't know any better, so they interpret it as salvation. Have it, or they're confusing and concealing it on purpose, probably that. Have I helped thee in the day of salvation, or Yeshua, help thee, preserve thee, give thee for a covenant of the people, to establish the earth, to cause to inherit the desolate heritage. That's the land, inherit the land. That thou mayest say to the prisoners, go forth to them that are in darkness, show yourselves, they shall feed in the ways, and their pasture shall be in all high places. Saith to the prisoners, go forth to them that are in darkness. These are the ones that come out of the pit. That's in Zechariah 9. This is the dry bones. They shall not hunger nor thirst, neither shall the heat nor sun smite them. So that's good news. For, yeah, that's, I believe, again, the glory of God of Israel, like a cloud in the day and like a pillar of fire at night for warmth. For he that hath mercy on them shall lead them. I am returned to Jerusalem with mercies. I can't wait. Shall, even by the springs of water, shall he guide them. And I will make all my mountains a way, and my highways shall be exalted. Behold, these shall come from far, and to these from the north, and to these from, and lo, these from the north, and from the west, and these from the land of Sinim. That would be like China, Japan, Taiwan, Asia, I guess. Sing, O heavens, and be joyful, O earth, and break forth into singing, O mountains, for Jehovah hath comforted his people. Oh, I can't wait. And will have mercy upon his afflicted. The end of Zechariah 6:1. The end of Hosea 6:1 and 2. But Zion said, Jehovah hath forsaken me, and Adonai hath forgotten me. Can a woman forget her suckling child, that she should not have compassion on the son of her womb? Yea, they may forget, yet will I not forget thee. It's beautiful, huh? Behold, I have graven thee upon the palms of my hands. Thy walls are continuously before me. The children shall make haste. Thy destroyers and they that make thee waste shall go forth of thee. No. Yeah, I mean, they're going to go into captivity, a lot of them. We read that about Iran, you know. Lift up thine eyes round about, and behold, all these gather themselves together. Well, it pertains to Iran, Iraq, and Syria. All these gather themselves together and come to thee. As I live, saith Jehovah, you shall surely clothe thee with them as with an ornament, and bind them on thee as a bride doeth. You'll have slaves for thy and servants, probably indentured, bonded type servants, I guess. Both, probably, I'm guessing. For thy waste and thy desolate places, and the land of thy destruction shall even now be too narrow by reason of the inhabitants. So there'll be so many of us will be complaining there's not enough room. And Jehovah will take care of that. Not by killing us. Don't go there. And they that swallow thee up shall be far away. Captivity. The children which thou shalt have after thou hast lost the other. So you and your whole house shall be saved, could have exceptions, you know. Shall say again in thy ears, the place is too strait for me. Give place to me that I may dwell. Then shalt thou say in thy heart, who hath begotten me? These seeing have lost my children, and am desolate, a captive, and removing to and fro. And who hath brought up these? Behold, I was left alone. These where had they been? The children. Thus saith Adonai Jehovah, behold, I will lift up my hand to the goyim, to the heathen, and set up my standard to the people. And they shall bring thy sons in their arms, and thy daughters shall be carried upon their shoulders. And kings shall be thy nursing father, and their queens thy nursing mothers. They shall bow down to thee with their face towards the earth, and lick up the dust of thy feet, lick up the dust of thy feet. And thou shalt know that I am Jehovah, for they shall not be ashamed that wait for me. And that's us, we're waiting, and the waiting is not easy. Also says in another place, those that wait on the Lord shall not be disappointed. Shall the prey be taken from the mighty, or the lawful captive delivered? The lawful captive would take to mean that you're convicted under the laws of these Satan-bought countries.
which are frequently laws with no victim. You know, the victim is the law. Ridiculous. But thus saith Jehovah, even the captive of the mighty shall be taken away, and the prey of the terrible shall be delivered, for I will contend with him that contendeth with thee. Amen. And will save thy children. So is that you and your whole house shall be saved? Looks like it. I don't know. I guess it just doesn't apply to every single child. Maybe if they're running around serving Satan in an evil way or something, I don't know. And I will feed them that oppress thee with their own flesh. Well, that's a curse under the law, and that happened to us in 70 AD. And it looks like it's going to happen to the heathen. Cannibalism. Their own flesh, usually they'll eat their children. And they shall be drunken with their own blood, as with sweet wine. And all flesh shall know that it says, Ani Yehovah, I'm Yehovah. All flesh shall know I'm Yehovah. He'll say, Ani Yehovah, and then it says Yasha, your Savior, salvation, and thy Redeemer, the mighty one of Yaakov. All flesh will know this. Hang on a minute. On Elam, someone had a question. Elam consists of southwestern Iran, parts of Iraq, and parts of Syria, but when you consider parts of Syria are run by the Syrian government, parts of Iraq by the Iraq government, parts of Iran by the Iranian government, I imagine the whole country is going to have to go, not just portions of it, if that helps you. If not, just query me again. Let me see what's going on in the chat. Let me get to the beginning. Okay. Thoughts on the Talmud, it's about as relevant as the Yellow Pages phone book. Forget about it. It opposes the Bible. I don't know what you're talking about. All of America is Babylon, what they call mystery Babylon, the secret Babylon. The city is DC. but the whole country. It says in Jeremiah 50:51, her cities, plural. It's, I will kindle fires in and about her cities. It's the whole country. Cops used to be pretty good about 40, 50 years ago. They used to consider they served the people. I was one, a deputy sheriff, and you didn't just, get nasty and mean to people, They got worse over time. I don't know anything about Trump getting shot. He got shot in the ear. That's what we know. He got grazed. He didn't take a round in the stomach or something. Yeah, the religions with the fallen angels. You got it. Do I read tarot cards? Very funny. Right, I don't seem to see anything else. I have some notes I made for you guys with spiritual warfare. I think that Satan teaches his followers, which would be the heads of all the nations and big companies and all that he won when Yeshua got killed almost 2,000 years ago, or about 2,000 years ago. And when Yeshua appears in the clouds, seated on the right hand of power, his father Jehovah, it's going to shock and scare the daylights out of them. Not us, not the true believers, them, the Saint-Bites, because they went ahead running their whole lives as if they didn't care. Just happy-go-lucky nincompoops. Okay, so it's going to scare the daylights out of them. Sometimes this is how Satan bots will behave. You'll have somebody in your life, it could be a coworker, a friend, a neighbor, a relative, and they're doing things to you in the spiritual realm, cursing you, witchcraft, spells, enchantments, and then the Lord, these are of course unprovoked, unfounded, unjustified things. Just because you're serving Jehovah, they go after you. And then the Lord will do something to them for that. And they'll blame you and tell you it's all your fault. Okay? They'll tell you it's your fault. And if you and then you won't know why they're thinking it's your fault. You're not gonna. They won't really explain it to you. They just lost their cool, and they go off. And you may see that in your life, and that's a sign of a Satan bot. Usually, it doesn't have to be, but generally it is. When somebody praises themselves and builds themselves up and tells you all the great things they did, oh, I wrote these books, I was on television, I did this, I did that, and they're self-praising themselves, don't buy it.
That's a Satan bot trick. Don't buy into it. Okay? Don't think it's true. Learn to discern. Maybe it's true, but maybe it's not. That's how Satan bots get you confidence. They build you up. Now, some of them will, come at you. Well, just be careful. Try to figure out, what's really going on with this person. Don't just buy it and believe it. Okay? Another thing could happen is sometimes you might meet somebody for the first time and you feel really strong about, how you like them and, you don't know who this person is. You just met them and all of a sudden you feel really good inside, feel warm and mushy inside that you really like this person. Not that you're in amorous love with the person, but they could be like that. A member of the opposite sex could pull that on you. This is witchcraft and sorcery. Somebody you don't really know, you just met, and you're drawn to them. Why? Witchcraft and sorcery frequently is what they're doing. Go step away, say you gotta go to the bathroom or go get something out of your car or whatever, and demon toss them, and then bind the unclean spirits from going back in them, or communicating with them, or leading them, or guiding them in the name of Yeshua HaMashiach, and then go back and then see what happens. Okay? That's another way they work. So it's, again, likely Iran doesn't, I can't say for sure. Iran might have a plan, but it looks to me that Iran is stumbling around trying to find their way here. I hope you got something out of this. I accomplished what I wanted to do. So I'm Moshe. Please pray for me and my wife for our peace, safety, protection, joy. Pray for our healing of our bodies. Pray for our finances. Thank you for those that are sending offerings in. This is supposed to be, listener supported, by the way, but only about 10% of the people usually give. The others believe they're exempt from giving. They just feel they can receive the spiritual food and not return with the carnal goods because they don't follow the Bible. They just like to get intel and information. Anyway, that's just the way it is. And pray for our animals and pets that are all rescues, that they be happy, healthy, and whole. And pray for better videos. Pray for the Lord to answer my questions about these end times, and we might learn a lot more if he reveals all these little things to me. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem, and I send my shalom to all those who love Yeshua HaMashiach. And I hope you got something out of this. Oh my gosh, I went almost 3 hours. Okay. Please subscribe if you want the updates when stuff starts happening pretty fast, and please hit the like button. Take you 2 seconds.